All right, folks, welcome in. It is a live Final Four edition of college basketball coast to coast as we come your way here from San Antonio, Texas. TJ Rives, the somewhat competent host, and the Tyler Jones of Chat Sports and the Jones Report, my wingman, here with me on this Saturday, this Final Four Saturday for Auburn and Florida and Duke and Houston about to play in the Alamodome. Great to be with you. We've gotten some Tex-Mex food. We've been on the Riverwalk. And now we get to the tremendous two matchups with all four number one seeds. I'm thrilled. I know you're ready to go. I won't speak for you. How are things?
TJ, I'm doing great. It's good to be back full circle to where my first Final Four was as a college student in 2018. Unfortunately, Kansas is not here this go round, but no surprise based on how this season went. But I'll be honest, I know that this March Madness didn't have the upsets that people love and expect like we've grown accustomed to. But we got four fantastic teams that all have a chance to realistically win this national championship. I think Duke is the obvious favorite, but I don't think anyone is going to be surprised if any of these four teams walk away with the crown at the end of the weekend. And I can't wait to see how it all unfolds.
No doubt, as you see there on the screen, we're going to put a lot of stuff up on the screen. It's the first time since 2008 and only the second time since the field expanded to 64, now 68 teams, that we have all four number one seeds in Auburn, Houston, Duke, and Florida. Auburn and Florida to meet as SEC rivals, and then Duke and Houston in the nightcap coming up. So if you're just finding us here on the college basketball coast to coast platforms, thank you for doing so. As we come your way here on Saturday afternoon on video, on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, X, etc. If you are only hearing us via the TuneIn channel, via the college basketball coast to coast podcast pages on Apple, Spreaker, Spotify, come find the video. Come see what we look like. Come hang with us. As a housekeeping note or two, we're going to be joined by our insider, Adam Zagoria of NJ.com and the Zags blog. He and I spoke just a little while ago here in San Antonio. We'll give you a little more of a Final Four preview. I want to talk to Adam, Tyler, about the coaching experience of Bruce Pearl and Kelvin Sampson. Does it really matter that much? Is it that big of a deal versus Jon Scheyer and Todd Golden? Now, Scheyer has been here, though, and I point this out to Adam, and I point it out to you right now. Scheyer won a national title with Duke in 2010. He won a national title as a player. He won a national title as an assistant with Mike Krzyzewski in 2015. So it's not like he's inexperienced in and around this. So maybe Todd Golden is the only one out of the four that doesn't really have the Final Four experience.
Yeah, and the thing I would point to, too, is eventually you have to win your first one before you could win multiple after that. So I don't think it's a huge deal that Todd Golden doesn't have the experience, or Jon Scheyer for that matter, that these other coaches do. But they all are looking for the same thing, their first ever national championship.
That's right.
As a head coach, and terrific storylines with all four of those coaches, with Todd Golden getting this Florida team back here for the first time in a long time since the Billy Donovan days. Auburn with Bruce Pearl, the second time since he's been there that they've been to the Final Four. And you got Kelvin Sampson, who I have been begging, pleading, he needs to be a Hall of Famer. This is his third Final Four where they have taken Houston from. And then, of course, Duke, replacing a legend like Coach K, hasn't been easy for Jon Scheyer, but I think he's done about as well as you could realistically think.
All right, so we're loving being with you. Let's see if the experience matters. Adam Zagoria with us in a little bit. Straight ahead, Deshaun Tate is with us in San Antonio. Mr. Tate's Take, the podcast, and also with the three-point conversion website and shows. He's here in San Antonio. We'll get his insight. Our wingman, Ari Russell, also was hustling on Final Four Friday with not one, not two, but four different player interviews from all the different schools: Florida, Auburn, Houston, and Duke. We'll get to Ari's interviews in a little bit. Full Final Four preview on this Saturday. We will also tell you, first of a couple of times I'll mention this, when the games are over tonight, audio recap of the games live from San Antonio, live the tape from San Antonio. That will be on the TuneIn channel, College Basketball Coast to Coast. Streaming recap anytime you want to hear it. And also in podcast form, Apple, Spreaker, Spotify. Catch the recap Saturday night late into Sunday, audio recap, and then we're back at noon Central Time, 1 Eastern Time on Sunday with a Sunday show in between the games here at the Final Four. We're here all the way through the weekend, through the national championship game Monday night at the Alamodome. So we've got plenty to get to, plenty to go over. Let's go over a couple more of the storylines before we get to guests and interviews, etc. So you mentioned that Florida is here seeking a third national title. Billy Donovan's Gators of 06 and 07 won the championship. They've been to a Final Four since. That was 2014 in your neck of the woods in Dallas-Fort Worth. They lost the semifinal game to UConn, the eventual champion, on that day. But it's not as if the Gator program doesn't have experience in the Final Four. You go back 31 years ago, 31, before Mr. Jones, I think, was on the planet. 31 years ago, the Gators' first ever Final Four was in Charlotte and against Duke, as it turned out in the semifinals with Grant Hill. Grant Hill and Duke won that game. Bring it forward, Tyler Jones, 31 years. Florida back in the Final Four with Duke. Grant Hill on the TV call coming up on CBS. How about that? Coming up on CBS.
Yes, and I look at this Florida team with what they've done. They have been, of these four teams, the most battle-tested team in this tournament. And for me, TJ, that means one of two things. Either this Florida team is clutch and knows how to capitalize and win in the moment, or that they are due for that letdown game, that it's coming sooner than later and could be today against Auburn. We'll see what to make of that. But Walter Clayton Jr. has been so fantastic, averaging 18.1 points per game, 4.2 steals, or 4.2 assists and 1.2 steals. And to me, he is going to be the driving force. If Clayton has a big game tonight, this Florida team is going to be tough to beat. They already beat Auburn earlier in the year in their previous matchup. They're currently riding that 10-game winning streak as well. I'm very curious to see how well Walter Clayton plays. If he has a big night, it's going to be tough to stop.
All right, what do you make of that rematch that you referenced when Florida scored 90 points in mid-February and won at Auburn? How relevant, Tyler Jones, is that to what's about to happen in the Alamodome today, if it's relevant really that much at all?
I don't think it's that relevant because here we are. This is April. Shout out John Rothstein. That was 2 months ago. These teams look a lot different now than they did 2 months ago. Maybe you look back at the tape and you see what worked well, what didn't work well from that game. But what I would say that if there's one thing in particular from that matchup, with that being a high-scoring game, Auburn is one of the most highest-scoring teams in the country, and Florida was able to beat them at their own game. So if this turns into a shootout, which it very well could tonight, then Florida, I don't think –
that's advantage Florida.
Yeah, they don't fear that at all. They'll take that type of matchup.
They made 13 three-pointers in that game in February that we're referencing here on College Basketball Coast to Coast. I would be surprised if Auburn allows them to shoot and make that many. I think they're going to try to take that, neutralize that to an extent away and say, beat us other ways. Beat us by going in the paint. Beat us with two-point shots, trying to go to the basket, take us off the dribble. They will guard the three-point line better, I believe, in this. Bruce Pearl said on Friday, I am so sick of watching the game tape of Florida from the previous matchup and from the SEC tournament and now in the NCAA tournament, just relentlessly hammer teams with the three-point shot. You got to believe that's something they're going to look to take away. If you're just joining us on the platforms, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, TJ Rives and Tyler Jones live in San Antonio here with you. Coming up in a few moments, Deshaun Tate will be with us. Deshaun with Tate's Take, the podcast, and the Cover 3 website, or the three-point conversion, the three-point conversion website and video coverage. Deshaun live in San Antonio. I want his insight. We'll also take your comments, by the way, as well, here during the broadcast. Our buddy Steve, my buddy Steve Carney says, have fun in San Antonio. Make sure to visit the basement of the Alamo. We have not been by the Alamo today.
We will pay our respects and remember the Alamo at some point.
We will remember the Alamo, I believe, at some point here. So thank you, Steve, for that. So weigh in with the comments just like that. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. We'll see them. Get them in here to us on the program as we rock along. We're live on this Final Four Saturday. Again, Ari Russell with some different interviews that we're going to play coming up as well. And we haven't really touched on the other game, and that is Duke. And Duke going for that first national title since 2015, playing the Houston Cougars, who are the regional fave because they're only about 2.5 hours to the east of here on I-10, depending on how fast you drive. Tyler drives faster than that. Houston here in the Final Four, Duke here in the Final Four, and Duke looking for that latest national title. They already have 3 of them in this century: 2001, 2010, 2015, but it's been a little bit for the Duke Blue Devils, and here they go for it, starting with tonight.
Yeah, the last time we saw Duke in the Final Four, 2022, when they lost to North Carolina in Coach K's last game, had a little sour taste in their mouth, the way that Coach K went out in that sense. But here we are now, and you got the best player on the floor in Cooper Flagg, averaging close to 19 points a game, won the AP National Player of the Year award. But how will the other guys step up? We've seen that this Duke team has done a really good job of getting their other pieces involved, whether it was in the ACC tournament when they were without Cooper Flagg and still won that whole thing, or how they played so far in this tournament with him coming back from injury in those first couple of games there. I'm very curious about just those guards as well. If their offense can hold up tonight against this Houston defense, if they can shoot lights out, it's going to be hard for Houston to keep up offensively if they don't find a way to slow down Duke and their terrific guards.
Yep. How about a couple of these numbers? How about Duke has 1 loss? Houston has 1 loss since December the 1st, and that's by 1 point in overtime to Texas Tech at home. They ran through the rest of the Big 12, as you know, Tyler. He's based in the Big 12 footprint. And then they have been impressive, obviously, to say the least, in this tournament, beating Gonzaga in the second round game, beating Purdue out of the Big 10 in the last second shot in Indianapolis, and then just really smothering Tennessee to win the regional final and be here. This team is legit, the real deal.
They are. And I think that one thing that should scare everyone else this weekend about Houston, you go back to that Purdue game where they did not play that well, had their worst performance of the tournament, winning that game 62-60. It's hard to think that they could play any worse than what they did in that game against Purdue, and yet they still found a way to win. That's what good teams do. They find ways to win on their off nights. LJ Cryer's been so fantastic. Emmanuel Sharp, they've been a very good 1-2 punch. They will get after you defensively. And Kelvin Sampson, I go back to that Purdue game. The inbound play that he drew up that set up the game winner there. If it comes down to these late game situations of any of these 4 coaches, I don't know about you, TJ, I'm taking Kelvin over the other 3 in those crucial moments here. Coaching still matters in today's college basketball.
You know what else matters? Being able to include some more of our peeps, our buds that do a great job of covering this. That includes Deshaun Tate of Tate's Take, the podcast, also based out of Atlanta, with the 3-point conversion website and shows. Deshaun with us here in the Alamo City, and through the magic of video, Deshaun with us right now on College Basketball Coast to Coast, live here on a Final Four Saturday. Deshaun, good to have you as we get ready for all of this. And he was there, and now he is gone via the magic internet. We saw him briefly, and now he's disappeared.
Shout out the hotel Wi-Fi.
Yeah, hopefully he can get in and do this a little bit more. But yes, I look forward to talking to him and getting his takes if we can make that happen. Again, Houston in the Final Four for the 7th time, and for the first time since 2021 here when it was in Indianapolis, the compressed tournament that year. They lost on the Final Four Saturday to Baylor, the old Southwest Conference matchup.
While we wait on Mr. Deshaun to join us, I'll say this about Houston as well. I'm so happy for their fan base. 2 years ago when we were in Houston, they thought that they were going to have the Final Four in their backyard. Didn't get to happen. Last year, that was a team that was capable of winning the national title, but the injury stood in their way and caught up with them, got eliminated in the Sweet 16. Now they are not too far away. Fan base is rocking and rolling here.
Yep.
And you mentioned they didn't get to go to Indianapolis because that was the COVID tournament. This is a long time coming for this Houston fan base of really taking in the Final Four experience.
Agreed with that. And Kelvin Sampson has really resurrected them. While we're on the subject of the Houston Cougars, why don't we go to our colleague Ari Russell yesterday with Terrance Arceneaux who is a forward. He's not one of the bigger names like L.J. Cryer, Jawan Roberts, the big man. But Arceneaux is a guy that averages about 7 points, 3 rebounds a game. He's one of the glue guys on defense. So Ari Russell was hustling in the interview Friday with some of the different players. Here's one of the Houston Cougars here from Friday at the Final Four in San Antonio.
Congratulations on being here. Just talk about the environment and what it's like for your team right now.
I mean, it's a great environment. I feel like they're doing a lot of things to just make it that more exciting with the different events that we went to and the media and coverage and everything. I mean, it's been a great experience. I know everybody around us is excited. All I see is smiles every day, so we're just happy to be here.
Do you think there is an advantage that the fan base doesn't really have that far to travel to come here and pack the place and cheer y'all on?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, as the amount of people that ask for tickets, I'm pretty sure they do. I mean, yeah, it's a blessing that we've been able to play this close, especially what we happened last round. And so it's just a blessing to everybody, all our fans, to come out and make it that much easier for them to draw.
Talk about, your coach, Kelvin Sampson, and his experience. Obviously, this is his third Final Four as a head coach. What has he been able to impart on the team and kind of how to handle this type of environment? Because it's different than anything else, really.
Right. I mean, we just listen to Coach. I mean, Coach has been here before, and he's just telling us how hard it is. We got a couple of veterans that have been here before that experienced it. So, I mean, we just all listen to them and just enjoy the moment and letting it sink in for sure.
And finally, just talk about the tenacity of this team. Obviously, that Tennessee game was very impressive, right? But there was just a lot of tenacity, especially on the offensive boards. It seems like any challenge that comes your way, you're ready to face it. And Duke's going to be a challenge. Just speak on that tenacity and what that means for this team.
I mean, for us, I mean, we don't look at it as a challenge. We're just looking at it as the next game and what we got to do to win. So, I mean, everybody just be locked in. And our mindset is just go out there and play our game and play as hard as we can. And I feel like that makes up for a lot of the mistakes that we make and a lot of challenges that seem impossible. So, I mean, when we just go out there and play our game and play hard, I mean, we're a pretty good team. So.
Okay. Well, congratulations and good luck.
Again, that is Ari Russell there with Terrance Arceneaux. And you're in the Big 12 footprint with these Houston Cougars. They did it, to your Kansas Jayhawks. They did it to everybody else. They did it to BYU. They did it to Arizona. They did it ultimately to Texas Tech in the Big 12 tournament. And now, again, Gonzaga, Purdue, and Tennessee have found out about these guys, including guys like that. I mean, guys that are tremendous defensively, role players. As much as Duke has a superstar in Cooper Flagg, Houston's got a group of guys, and this is a compliment to Kelvin Sampson, that are more kind of connected, interchangeable, and long arms, athletic to guard on the perimeter. He just rolls guy after guy after guy out like that.
Yeah, and I find remarkable, too, that this is their second season in the Big 12. They went 19-1 in Big 12 play, and that is a record for the most conference wins. And that record will likely never be broken as the Big 12 goes to 18 conference games next year, down from 20. And to think how well that they made that move 2 years ago, prior to this year with the SEC's dominance, the Big 12 had been the best basketball conference in the country for more than a decade and was dominated by teams like Kansas, Baylor, Iowa State, among others. And Houston has come in and taken command of this league. They've made a smooth transition from the American Athletic Conference. They have not been scared. They have not been phased. And the tough competition that they faced in the Big 12, even though they went 19-1 in league play, I think had them well prepared for this tournament and a big part of why they played so well.
All right, let's try once more to see if Deshaun Tate can join us. We bring him in here from Tate's Take, the podcast.
There he is.
Based in Atlanta. We see you smiling. We see you moving. We love the technology, especially when it works. Hello from San Antonio, Deshaun Tate. We have talked a ton in the build-up to bringing you on about Houston. Flip it the other way to the Duke team that you've seen a bunch as we welcome you in, and the matchup with Houston later tonight, if you would.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, both teams going to have their hands full. All four teams participating in this thing going to have their hands full, obviously. And, Duke is definitely one of those teams that's going to come with some size. As much as we talk about, this Houston team is with its physicality and the way that they like to muck it up and the grown men that they have over there, they haven't quite Duke hasn't quite seen a team like that all year. I'm not sure that Houston has seen a team as connected with the addition or combination of talent that Duke is going to roll out there on the floor as well. Like Kansas, very talented team, no question. Connectivity, totally different conversation when you're playing up against Duke. And don't get it, twisted or mistaken. Houston is obviously the top team in this tournament when it comes to defense. I don't think, I think you'd be really hard pressed to find anybody that would disagree with that. But Duke's a pretty good defensive team as well. I mean, granted, I think they have the more of a balance, if you will. It's not quite the slap the floor, turn you over the way the old school Duke teams used to do. But it's, in terms of, the modern era and the way that the game is played, they are, one of the better defensive teams as well that I don't think that's something that gets nearly enough credit. So, you also got to deal with Malawach in the front court and obviously a player of the year in Cooper Flag, but they've got the shooters on the outside between Con Knipple. And then they've got an X factor and Proctor, who's had a pretty freaking good, tournament himself. I'll say this to be the last thing.
Don't know if the Wi-Fi is going to hold up.
Duke's
We're
going to win
trying.
single
Deshaun,
game,
keep
let
hanging in
alone
there.
a
Keep
national
talking.
champion.
Let's see if it keeps going.
Yeah.
Live show, folks. We're doing the best we
You still
can
with me,
with what we
TJ?
have.
I was saying that, when it comes to this Duke team, this doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to win a national championship, let alone win tonight. But if you look at some of these teams that, win national championships like Houston has the last couple of years and some of the others previously, they've been winning their games, by double digits. They've been winning them soundly. It's not about being cute. They've been really putting an exclamation point on their wins. And that's something that Duke has done all the way up to this point.
Do we sneak a prediction out of you? Because you got to go here shortly and we're trying to hang in there with the technology. Do we sneak a Duke Houston pick out of you?
I'm gonna go with Houston. This one has gotten over the past few days. It's gotten a lot tougher to pick Houston, just to be honest. But I mean to pick Duke, to be honest. But I'm still gonna stick with what was on my bracket. That's not only Houston in this game, but to also stand on the ladder with the scissors in hand on Monday.
Interesting. The whole world believes this is Duke tonight. I'm in that group. Deshaun goes the other way. Hey, because you have to go, give me like 45 seconds on Auburn and Florida and the SEC rematch. And tell me who you like in that semifinal, the first semifinal in San Antonio later this afternoon. Go.
I like Auburn in this one. I think they got a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. They felt a little bit disrespected, in some cases feeling like they are, the one seed that hasn't been talked about as much as some of the others. I know Houston probably disagrees with that probably, but I'll say enough to say that, Auburn being a team that has the size advantage, the size mismatch, they're able to bring some big guards out there. We talked about, how experienced Houston is. But Auburn's got some of that too. Maybe not guys that have played in the Final Four per se. And I know that they don't have the National Player of the Year, but they have the National Player of the Year runner-up in Janai Broome, Chad Baker, Mazzara. I think his length and some of those things between him and some of the other guys in size can kind of make it difficult for Florida. And Florida's got that win earlier this season. I like Auburn to be able to get some get back. The big payback is what I like to call it, against Florida, and be the ones advancing onto Monday night.
All right, again, Auburn, as we see on the screen, in the Final Four for the second time since 2019. Will that matter? Todd Golden was on Bruce Pearl's staff. We'll see. Deshaun, I know you're trying to get to the Alamodome because they're officially announcing the Naismith Award and also the Hall of Fame members for the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. We have seen the breaking stuff on social media that Billy Donovan, the Gators coach, the back-to-back national titles, he has gotten in the Naismith Hall of Fame. So that's breaking news on a Saturday afternoon as well. Deshaun, will catch up with you on the recap audio show tonight after the Final Four on the college basketball coast-to-coast platforms. Way to go. Way to hang in there with the technology. Thank you.
Appreciate you guys. Can't wait to see you guys on this evening. And remember, one more thing. Tyler Jones, don't forget, as long as you've known me, always remember and never, ever forget, I go to jail for you, kid.
Always.
He loves that line.
Always.
All right, get him out of here. I don't think anybody's going to jail yet. Here
the weekend is young.
It is. Yes, we've just gotten underway on a Saturday. Again, TJ Rives and Tyler Jones with you on the college basketball coast-to-coast platforms. Thank you for finding us wherever you have found us. We're going to get back to a couple of interviews with Ari Russell and some of the players on Friday in the preview mode. Again, back to that Auburn, Florida battle that's coming up. It is an SEC showdown here in the Final Four. Did you know that's the first time ever that two SEC teams have played in the semifinal on Saturday? We got history here this afternoon with Auburn and Florida.
Not the first time we've had two SEC teams in the Final Four, but first time they've had them go head-to-head.
In the semifinals, yes.
And you just look at the dominance that they've had all season long and throughout this tournament, and there was a lot of talk going in. Are they overrated? Did they deserve 14 teams in? And I think that they've done a really good job of backing that up with these performances that we've seen getting these two teams here. And if you're Greg Sankey, I'll be honest, TJ, I don't know how many people would agree with me on this. I don't think you're too upset about having your two teams go to head-to-head because you are guaranteeing
That's correct.
that you're getting one in the national title no matter what.
And they have been talked about as the most powerful league. They got 7 in the Sweet 16. They got 5 in the Final 8, and they got 2 here to Atlanta, and they guarantee or to San Antonio with Auburn advancing out of Atlanta, and you're guaranteed 1 in the championship game for that showdown tonight. So speaking of the SEC and speaking of Florida, Thomas Haugh of the Florida Gators hit a couple of big 3-pointers against Texas Tech all the way out in San Francisco. That's a long way from Gainesville, Florida, to help them in the comeback win. Remember, Tyler, they were down 9 with about 4 minutes left in the game and came roaring back. Thomas Haugh was one of the reasons why. So we get to this Final Four weekend, and the big 6'9" wing player for Todd Golden's team was available in the locker room. Our Ari Russell spoke with him on Friday to talk about being in the Final Four, look ahead to the rematch with Auburn, and more. Let's go to that conversation right now on College Basketball Coast to Coast.
All right, Thomas, man. First off, how much fun has this been so far being in this environment?
Yeah, it's been amazing so far. This has been a really great group of guys, and this event they put on here has been second to none. It's been awesome so far.
Everyone's talking about the mustache. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's kind of like at hockey they got like the hockey beards.
Yeah.
Is this your Final Four stash?
Yeah, it's the playoff beard. Except you got to get pretty close to even see it. So
yeah, it's all good, man. Obviously, Elijah Martin is one of the guys that has the experience here at this point. How much has he been an impact as far as in the locker room and explaining the environment and what to expect?
Yeah, he's been helping us all year. Starting this summer, like I was saying earlier, he's been a leader and telling us I know what we need to do to get to this Final Four, and he's kind of shaped our team in that way too. Leading us by example.
Yeah, for sure. And finally, just kind of scout Auburn. Obviously, you played them earlier, but this is kind of a different environment. It's not a regular season game. Just scout them real quick and what you expect.
I think they're going to be really hungry. They're going to be ready to play us, and we're going to have to come out there with our best. They're a really great team. They wouldn't be here if they weren't a great team. All these teams this tournament have been good so far, and I think Auburn's going to be really excited to come out there and play us and try to get their get back. But we got to be ready and stay focused.
Well, congratulations on getting here and good luck.
I appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
Again, Ari Russell there inside of the Alamodome locker rooms there yesterday. Haugh does have the little mustache. He did equate it kind of like to the hockey beards, like the playoff beards with that. But the Florida bigs being able to go out on the perimeter, that's going to be a threat. And it obviously draws either Broom or Cardwell, the two big bodies, to come out for that. And they barbecued Auburn with that in the February game for what it's worth. Again, for those just joining us, I think Auburn will be ready. Will probably be more ready for that on the perimeter coming up in the first semifinal game.
It reminds me a lot of the Jay Wright Villanova teams that did a really good job of stretching the floor and were able to dominate with their three-point shooting from outside. And I'll say this, Texas Tech came very close to beating this Florida team, and Texas Tech's a very good defensive team. If I'm game planning for this Florida team, if I'm Auburn, I'm looking back at what Texas Tech did, because Auburn's a much more talented team than Texas Tech did. If they can take some of that and apply it here, then that might be the winning recipe for the Auburn Tigers.
We got some fans that are checking in and are watching things. Let's see, Bucks, Gators, Bulls, and Cubs He's got them all. Oh, my.
And the Lightning.
And the Lightning.
Your
that's,
team.
That's Travis, I think, there that says, go Gators. All right, so the Gator fans are fired up. Lisa watching us. Lisa watches this stuff all the time in Memphis. Hello, Lisa. Watching says the SEC is beginning to be a powerhouse in basketball, not just football. I would agree with that. Good stuff there on some audience feedback. Keep it coming as you watch us on Facebook. Live here as you watch us on YouTube. And again, the college basketball coast to coast Twitter feed as well, CBB coast to coast. TJ Rives, Tyler Jones with you on Final Four Saturday in the preview mode. Tyler, why don't we get some insight from Adam Zagoria, who has done a great job as an insider with us from NJ.com and the Zags blog. Adam was with the Duke Blue Devils in Newark for their regional final win over Alabama. They obviously beat Arizona in the semifinals. He was covering the Big East. He watched St. John's go down in flames firsthand in Providence at the hands of Arkansas. I mean, the SEC's had a huge 3 weekends here in this tournament. No, not all the teams got to the Sweet 16, but when you look at what Auburn and Alabama and Tennessee and Arkansas and Florida all did getting to the next weekend, it was impressive getting to the second weekend, and now 2 of them have gotten to the third weekend of the tournament. So I want Adam's thoughts on the experience level of the coaches, the matchup, the magnitude of this for Duke trying to get a national title. What about Houston as the regional influence team, only about 2.5 hours away? The SEC rematch with Florida and Auburn. So Adam was with me a little earlier here in the Final Four Saturday. Let's go to that conversation right now. All right, it has now happened. We are here poolside. Adam Zagoria joining me. Proof of the pool right back there in San Antonio. This is like 8 or 9 times we've done this poolside. All right, so what has this been like? You've been here for the last couple of days in San Antonio. What's this been like for the Final Four?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, right? You got 4 number 1 seeds, TJ, for the first time since 2008. You know, I still have Duke over Florida in my bracket. I think Duke has the best player in Cooper Flagg. You know, I saw today on ESPN they have 4 guys over 6'9", and they're the tallest team, you know, I think in the tournament. So I still got them winning, but any one of these 4 teams could win 2 games here. They're all excellent teams with excellent coaches. Really looking forward to tonight.
And we have talked that these are arguably the 4 best teams. When you talk about the little guy or not, or the best teams and the best conferences, the SEC was obviously the best conference. It got 2 teams in. Duke looks like it may very well be the best team. And Houston, regionally close here, dominated the Big 12. Adam, they lost 1 time in the Big 12, won the Big 12 tournament. It is tough to argue with these 4 teams that they aren't the 4 best teams on paper going in. One more time, right?
Yeah, I know a lot of people are talking about, is this the end of Cinderella? And with NIL and the portal, we're not going to see Cinderella anymore. I'm not convinced about that. I know John Shire was asked about that yesterday. He said he doesn't think that's the case, and we'll see some Cinderellas down the road. But look, this was a year that I picked chalk in my bracket. I think a lot of people did. These were clearly the 4 best teams. It showed that the selection committee did a great job. And, you know, now we're going to find out who wins.
All right, you've been around these coaches throughout the process, around Shire, obviously, in Newark, and now around these guys that they're all here at the Final Four. We got Bruce Pearl and Kelvin Sampson with lots of experience, previous Final Four. Shire Final Four as a player and a win, a championship win for Duke in 2010, an assistant with Mike Krzyzewski, and they won it in 2015. Golden does not have, from Florida, Todd Golden, Final Four experience. How much do you buy into the experience factor in these semifinals?
I mean, look, it is a big spot, obviously, for Todd Golden, especially. You know, John Shire, of course, won a national championship at Duke and has been on Coach K's staff, so he's been in multiple Final Fours. I believe John Shire would be the first person ever to win a national championship as a player and a coach.
And an assistant.
And an assistant, which is pretty amazing and could happen. Bruce Pearl obviously has experience. He was here a few years ago. You know, Kelvin Sampson's got a lot of experience. So those factors play a role. You know, in the end, I think Duke has the best team. They've got more length. You know, Houston plays incredible defense. They hounded Tennessee on the defensive end. I'm not sure they have the height and the depth to go against Duke. You know, and Kaman Malawach, you know, as much as we talk about Cooper and Duke's offense, they've played tremendous defense in this tournament. I mean, they held Alabama to 65 after Alabama went for 113. Kaban Malawach is just a force at the rim as a shot blocker, a shot alterer. He also finishes a lot of dunks on passes from Cooper Flagg. So I just think Duke has too much. Florida obviously beat Auburn in February by 9 points. I think Florida, you could make a case coming into the tournament, was the hottest and best team. I think Bruce Pearl said that here this week. They've got two of everything. I know Seth Greenberg has kind of called them the Noah's Ark of the tournament. They got two bigs. They probably have the best guard here in Walter Clayton, former Iona guy who almost went to St. John's with Rick Pitino. And, I think Florida's a little stronger, but, Auburn's guards, as Bruce Pearl had said, Tahaad, Pettiford, Denver, Jones, those guys are going to have to play, as well as they can. Tremendous defense on Clayton. They've obviously got Janai Broome, one of the two best players in the country who says he's healthy. So would it shock me if Auburn wins? No, of course not. But I think Florida has a little too much.
I kind of like Auburn in the revenge mode, as we've been talking about. We'll see. All right, listen, have a blast on this Final Four Saturday covering it. He gets confirming you will not be in that pool today.
Not until the sun comes out later.
The sun will be out, but he's got to work today. But we are poolside with Adam Zagoria. Thank you. We'll check in with you again later in the weekend.
Thanks, TJ.
Hate it. It felt a little humid out here yesterday, and I'm not quite ready for that mentally yet. So we'll take a little bit of the cool down here.
I'm not sure if they heard us because I had a glitch there and the mics were off. What I was saying is he's not, Adam, getting in that pool because it's gotten cooler in San Antonio. And again, the audience, I don't think, heard this. It's going to be in the low 40s for the overnight temperature after the hot action in the Alamodome, and about a 30-degree temperature fluctuation in the last couple of days here for everybody that's made their way here to San Antonio. Hey, pick up on something just real quick. Houston regionally, again, about 2.5 hours to the east. You came here from Dallas, from the north, south down into San Antonio. How big of a Texas advantage does Houston really have in this setting with the Big 12 familiarity, et cetera? Do you buy into that?
To an extent. I was talking to Will Kunkel, who works for the Fox station in Houston. He said one of the things that Houston has had a problem with is because they had such that bad stretch of basketball before Kelvin Sampson that they lost a whole generation of fans, essentially. And so this Final Four trip, among with their other outings this tournament, a lot of older fans. We know Jim Nantz obviously has been at these games, and I saw a video of him on the Big 12 social media this week promoting the University of Houston. But they're trying to put out a get-out effort to get more of their younger alums, get them more involved, more invested. This is a new thing for a lot of them that have not seen this success level where it's at now.
No doubt. Again, Houston looking for their first national title. Auburn's never had a national title. Florida got them in back-to-back years, 06, 07. Duke with 5 of them looking for a 6th here in this Final Four while we just go over that. Let's go back to some more of the hard work and the hustle of Ari Russell. Ari Russell on Friday talking with different players from the different teams. We've already heard from Houston. We've already heard from Florida.
We can call it the Russell Hustle.
The Russell Hustle is real. And he was in the locker room with Auburn's Tahaad Pettiford, the outstanding left-handed freshman, a New Jersey player, as Adam Zagoria would tell you, from New Jersey. Bruce Pearl able to get him at Auburn. Man, he was lights out shooting the ball in the game, in particular with Michigan in the Sweet 16. And again, made a couple of huge buckets in the win over Michigan State on Sunday. So again, in the preview mode, here is the Auburn guard, the freshman Pettiford, with our Ari Russell from San Antonio.
Okay, Tahaad. First off, congratulations on getting here. How much fun has it been so far since you landed in San Antonio?
A lot of fun, obviously. Just being around the boardwalk, seeing some new things. But we all came here for one reason only, so just trying to focus on that.
Talk about kind of, there's a lot of veterans on this team. Obviously, you got a coach that has been in this environment. How much has that helped you as far as being a freshman coming in here, preparing for this type of environment?
It's helping us a lot. Obviously him being here, him losing, so he has experience, and it wasn't the experience that he wanted. So obviously he's a face to change that, and we're just here to follow him.
Finally, obviously, you've played Florida in the regular season. Do a little scouting on them and kind of what your expectations are, and from not only from Florida but also from yourselves.
Just to be more aggressive. We need to be more aggressive in that loss we weren't. And just fix our small mistakes and play Auburn basketball. Really fun.
Okay, well, congratulations on being here and good luck on Saturday.
Thank you so much.
That is a fantastic freshman in Tahaad Pettiford. For this Auburn team. Again, Bruce Pearl has the experience. These players, though, have not been in this kind of moment. Then again, they've been in the toughest league. Sorry, Tyler, for the Big 12.
Hey, I'm an adopted SEC guy now,
I'm with you with Texas and Oklahoma. But, I mean, the SEC was clearly the best league throughout the pre-conference. And the battles that Auburn had, and they took some losses at the end of the year. The Gators at home. They lost to Alabama at home. They lost at Texas A&M. They lost to Tennessee in the SEC tournament. I think a lot of people were wondering, all right, is this team maybe out of gas? Has the SEC beaten them down, et cetera? I think we just have to look at it as it's a really tough conference, and they lost some of those games because now they've gotten into the big tournament, and whether it's Creighton or Michigan State, the two Big Ten teams, they came through all of those games, and they're here in San Antonio.
I remember Jay Billis saying prior to the SEC tournament that he thought winning the SEC tournament was going to be tougher than winning the national championship. A lot of that might be some ESPN propaganda.
Right.
But to that extent, you look at what Auburn and Florida are going about this, of this 6 games to win a national championship, 2 games each and every weekend, and the downtime that's in between compared to the SEC tournament where you're playing every day. And Auburn went into the big dance losing, 3 out of their last 4 games. They weren't playing their best basketball. Now I think that with the time off, them getting eliminated early from the SEC tournament, that allowed them to kind of hit the reset button. And they've been locked in really since the start of this thing. And even when Broome went down, that team responded well, and sounds like he's fully healthy, that there's going to be no limitations on him.
Let's pick up on that very point. We saw Janai Broome kind of doing the, I guess, the diva moment of, we want to walk off the court and go to the tunnel and maybe go to the locker room and then come back in the game. He immediately used his right arm and his right elbow to grab a ball after a foul was called, and it went off the rim. And I'm like, okay, he must not have a problem really with his elbow or his arm. And so they fully cleared him. They said that back on Thursday. He's fully cleared for this game. Now, he's battled ankle problems throughout the year. How much is that going to rear against Florida here in that regard? I don't know. But he's a big factor. Broome is a huge factor in this game. And keeping him out of foul trouble is also a big factor. Agreed?
Absolutely. And I think that if you're Florida, you're probably looking at what can you do to kind of rough him up a little bit. See if maybe not necessarily injure him, but make him feel uncomfortable with dealing with those potential injury concerns. Just because he's been cleared does not mean that it can't be an irritation or can't be an issue of sorts. So I'm very curious to see what they do to potentially attack him there.
It would surprise me, want your thought as we do this live. A few more minutes here on College Basketball Coast to Coast, and we're going to talk more Duke in a few moments. Everybody's saying, oh, you haven't talked enough about Duke maybe in this preview. Duke gets talked about everywhere, as they should. They've got the prohibitive favorite to be the number 1 overall player in the NBA draft in Cooper Flagg, who's a phenomenal player. We're going to talk about them in a moment. But back to strategy from Auburn. Do you agree with me? Something I put out there over and over and over again. One way to attack Florida is go right at them inside, go right at them with Broome, go right at them with Cardwell until they prove they can stop it. Try to get the Florida bigs in foul trouble. It would not surprise me if Auburn is trying to get 34, 38, 42 points in the paint in this game by going to those guys. You buy that?
Yeah, I do. And I think that Pettiford, people are going to think about, okay, he's a good scoring guard, right? Averages close to 12 points a game. But what can Pettiford do to be the quarterback and find his guys in those open lanes and distribute, get the ball to Broom and dominate on that end? To me, that is going to be very telling of maybe Pettiford doesn't have the best offensive night scoring-wise, but if he can distribute and have command of this offense and let those guys work down low, then that could bode very well for this Auburn team.
All right, we're almost done here. Let's bring this back to Duke, and we're going to hear from Sion James here in just a moment, here from the Friday interview portion of things at the Final Four. But what about Duke rolling into this game? They have Cooper Flagg, but they have a lot more. I mean, a lot of people don't realize this, that in the regional final win over Alabama, Con Knipple was actually the leading scorer, the other freshman from Wisconsin with 21. They had 4 players in double figures with Flagg, with Tyrese Proctor. What about the Duke balance and combating that Houston defense with multiple guys that can help them tonight? How big a deal?
Oh, it's a very big deal. There's so much to defend and attack. And I look at this as well. I know that we've talked so much about Cooper Flagg being the number 1 overall pick in this draft. You have at least 3, maybe 4, 5 guys that are going to play in the NBA from this Duke team. And there's just so much raw talent that you have to account for. And they've shown previously they can do it without Flagg. With these guys, Khan's been so good. I love what I've seen from Malik inside. I've heard some comparisons of him to Joel Embiid. I think that might be a little bit of a reach at this point, but yeah, the way that they can attack you in so many different ways, it is going to be so tough to defend. But if anybody could do it, it would have to be this Houston team. They're going to be their best test, I think, of any team all season.
And then again, we may be looking at this guy, the freshman Cooper Flagg, taking the game over. Look at that stat line from the Sweet 16 game with Arizona. I know Arizona's defense is not nearly what Houston's defense is. Almost nobody's defense is what Houston's defense is. But if Duke gets a game, I keep saying this, I keep repeating this for the audience here on College Basketball Coast to Coast. If Duke gets a stat line like that right there tonight, they're winning the game against Houston. Doesn't even have to be 30 points. If they get something like 22 points, 6 or 7 rebounds, 5, 6, 7 assists, 2, 3 blocks, he's the kind of guy that takes the game over. That's a take the game over type stat line tonight.
It not only is a take the game over stat line, but you look at those other numbers, the boards, the assists, the blocks. That's not just him. That's opening things for other guys that are also stepping up. It is not a one-man show, one-man band with Cooper Flagg. That's one of the things that's impressed me as a freshman. He doesn't play like a freshman. He is a very good team player that makes the guys around him better in that sense. I got to see him firsthand against SMU back in January. And just right away jumps off the page of how smart his basketball IQ is, well beyond his years.
And that was 20 games ago.
Yeah.
Probably 18, 20 games ago, and how much more he's improved since then. By the way, let's mention again for those watching us live on College Basketball Coast to Coast, or if you're watching us a little time displaced later in the afternoon, if you are still looking for tickets for the Final Four, you have friends or relatives that are in San Antonio looking for tickets for the men's Final Four, Auburn, Florida, Duke, Houston, use Ticket Smarter, the Ticket Smarter mobile app. We're showing the video audience this right now. To use Ticket Smarter mobile app, and our promo code COAST20 will save you $20 off your order of $300 or more. The women's championship game is Sunday back in Tampa, Tyler, where I left. That's UConn and South Carolina in the grudge match rematch of the UConn blowout win. Get the tickets through Ticket Smarter. Tampa peeps, Tampa Bay peeps, Florida peeps, if you're watching, if anybody's going to the Final Four for the women's title game, that code is good for the women's Final Four as well. COAST20, $20 off your order with Ticket Smarter and the Ticket Smarter mobile app. They have a great algorithm, best secondary prices on the market, and you're going to save $20 with the promo code COAST20. Get in the game. Think smarter, Ticket Smarter mobile app for the Final Four this weekend. Promo code is COAST20. Shall we move along? And speaking more of Duke, Ari Russell was with one of the Duke role players. He's a transfer. He's been at a couple of other programs. Sion James, though, has done well for these Duke Blue Devils. He is an explosive player off the wing, can shoot it, can defend. Here he was with Ari Russell on Friday in the preview mode as Duke gets ready to play Houston.
the team enjoying themselves, trying to soak in all the moments that is happening here at the Final Four?
It's awesome. Really just being ourselves, kind of doing the same things that we always do. Just playing 2K in the hotel and like went to Fan Fest yesterday, which was a lot of fun. Just really enjoying each other's presence.
Who's the best 2K player? Because you got in the locker room.
It's a controversial question, one that I will not answer on record because these guys jump like 13 guys will not be happy with me.
Okay. The intensity of this team kind of takes the coaching staff as intense. They were intense players here, Carawell and Shire, et cetera. Just talk about how that rubs off and what that means as this team is looking to cut down the nets on Monday.
They just they really show us that competitiveness, that it shines through in the way that they do their jobs, the way they talk to us. And this time of year it's really good because they have experience. Like I talked to Coach Avery and Coach Carawell about their experience in the late 90s playing in the Final Four and just what it took to get there and how we can learn from some of from what they learned.
So, and finally, Houston is a extremely physical team, but you guys are too. You played a lot of physical ball the whole year, especially that Arizona game. That was especially physical. So talk about kind of the play in the season, the ACC, and through the tournament, and how it's going to prepare you for this Houston matchup.
Everything we've done all year has prepared us for this matchup. There's no teams that play exactly the way Houston does, but we play some very physical teams too. And our big thing is just learning to continue to be ourselves no matter who we're playing and trust that things will work out the way they need to.
Well, congratulations and good luck on Saturday.
Thank you.
Sion James with Ari Russell. The question's on the screen. How invincible is Duke at this point when you've seen – they beat Auburn all the way back in November for what it's worth at home. They went and beat Illinois in the middle of the ACC season by 40 points at Madison Square Garden. They really only had one game down the stretch of the season where North Carolina challenged them in the ACC semifinal. Important that North Carolina never had the lead in that game. They got close after they were down big. And really now in this tournament, they have teed it up and have put it on Baylor, have put it on Arizona, and also Alabama. No contest. How invincible, as the question is up there, are they that invincible, or do you think they can be had tonight by the Houston Cougars?
I think they can be had if everything goes right. Arizona, that game was not indicative, I think, of how well Duke actually dominated that game. They only won by 7, but they ended up scoring 100 points that night. And Caleb Love had a very good game for Arizona in that sense. There's no way that Houston's going to be giving up 100 points to this Duke team. But we had the interview there just a moment ago with Sion James. And one of the things I look to, TJ, I think that kind of transcends all sports in these championship environments is finding those X factor players. Mm-hmm. Who are the guys that are going to step up that maybe you don't count upon all the time, but they come through when you need them. It's required in every single sport on these on these type of stages. And I think Sion James has potential to be that guy for Duke, averaging about 9 points a game, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal each game. Maybe it's tonight, maybe it's Monday night, but he could be that X factor that I'm watching for Duke.
You're talking about that. Maybe it's a guy like Uzan, the transfer from Oklahoma, that's the X factor, or is it LJ Cryer that's the X factor for Houston? You go to the Auburn, Florida game. Is it a Cardwell, the big man, that's the X factor? Is it somebody like Elijah Martin that has Final Four experience as a guard for Florida? He was with Florida Atlantic 2 years ago. You and I were there in Houston when they made the Final Four. Is Elijah Martin maybe the X factor besides Walter Clayton and the bigs? You're saying X marks the spot. Look out for the X guys.
The X-Men.
The X-Men and how they do it. By the way, viewers still weighing in before we're done on the Final Four preview show. Nancy watching. That is my wife's Aunt Nancy, who is a Duke fan through and through.
Hi, Aunt Nancy.
Aunt Nancy, keep knocking them dead. There you go. Thank you for watching here on the program. By the way, we need to tell you about another sponsor as well, because we can't do this without the sponsors helping us out, and that is our friends at Go Sleeves and the kinesiology technology with our friends at Go Sleeves. The video audience is seeing it right on the screen right now. Look, if you are looking to work out, if you are battling, playing pickleball, biking, running, use these kinesiology sleeves for the knees, the elbows, the calves, the kinesiology technology. Tyler and the audience, will help you out with a couple of things. It helps you out with blood flow. What does that do? It helps you recover quicker. It manages your pain and soreness the next day. If you're looking to, again, improve with the knees, with the elbows, we're showing the video audience for runners, for bikers, for golfers, for the sleeve, for the elbow, for the golfers, weekend basketball, all of it. Use these Go sleeves on the knees, the elbows, and the calves. It is go time with Go sleeves. Proud sponsors here of what we do as part of college basketball coast to coast. And by the way, we also have a promo code available for you there as well. If you go to gosleeves.com, you'll see more about the sleeves and use the promo code TJ. Simple enough to remember. Gosleeves.com/TJ to get a discount off your order for the knees, the elbows, the calves. They have some great prototypes on an ankle sleeve that's going to help out, as well as a pair of shorts that will help for your hamstrings and your lower back as well, that will be coming on the product line later this year. GoSleeves.com to see all the products. Promo code TJ. They're sponsoring us with the Final Four coverage. All right, final thought or two from you. We got all the number one seeds here. We're guaranteed it's 2 number one seeds. How profound on Monday night. What's your thought on who's in that championship game on Monday night, Tyler Jones?
I think we're going to get the 2 best teams in the country all season long. Duke and Auburn have been the 2 teams to beat. Auburn, the number 1 overall seed. Duke, the favorite entering this tournament. And I look at these 2 teams, they got the 2 best players as well, with Broome and Flagg both. And I think we're setting up for a potential all-time classic to have these 2 on this stage competing for a national title here. I lean towards Duke to win the whole thing, but I'm telling you right now, if Houston tonight, if their defense shows up, if they can catch Duke on that off night, they potentially have a chance. I don't think anyone's going to be surprised if Florida finds a way to beat Auburn either. This thing's wide open, even though it's been about Duke and Auburn all year long. Wasn't too long ago, TJ, you and I were having a conversation. Would you rather have Duke and Auburn or the field? And now here we are. And it's come down right back to that conversation.
We're only 2 games away from somebody other than Duke and Auburn. When they play these 2 games, it may be them. So it's a good point that they have been prohibitive teams, but wild things happen in these Final Fours. Let's bring this back. Interesting. It's now been 34 years ago, again, before you were on the planet. But UNLV in the 91 Final Four was seemingly invincible. They had destroyed Duke the year before in the national title game. They had run through the entire regular season undefeated. I will share that I saw the 91 team in person in Louisville at the old Freedom Hall with Larry Johnson, Stacey Augmon, Greg Anthony, Anderson Hunt, all NBA first-round picks. They annihilated Louisville that day. It wasn't just a bad conference they were playing in. They scored like 105 points and killed Louisville that day. They rolled into the Final Four Saturday in Indianapolis, seemingly invincible. And ironically, Duke being talked about being invincible this year, it was Duke, motivated by revenge, Christian Laettner, Bobby Hurley, a freshman named Grant Hill, who beat them. And one of the tests was UNLV hadn't really been in trouble in the final 5 minutes, the final 3 minutes, the final 2 minutes of the game, down 2. Down 3 without the ball late in the game. So that is a variable for this Duke-Houston game tonight. Can Houston test them? Can Houston have them down with 5 minutes to go or 3 minutes to go, like Duke did so many years ago with UNLV when they pulled the upset?
Yeah, and we've seen these situations in the past. I think back to the undefeated Kentucky team under John Calipari several years ago that lost in the national semifinal to Wisconsin. Then Wisconsin ended up losing to Duke in the national title. It's not just about tonight. It's how you finish Monday as well. Can you play 2 straight good games to win it all? It is a tough dynamic in that sense.
Ultimately, I agree with you. I think the 2 best teams are going to be there. Auburn. I had, full disclosure, I had Michigan State winning the Elite 8 game, and I had Michigan State beating Florida. So I'm going to stick. Sorry, Gator fan. I'm going to stick with, I believe it's not Florida. I believe it's Auburn, the team that beat Michigan State, that's there. And I think we get some kind of showdown later tonight. Again, thank you for finding us. When the games plural are over, when the second game is over, we will have a complete audio recap on the TuneIn channel, College Basketball Coast to Coast, as well as the College Basketball Coast to Coast podcast feed. You'll get a ding, a light, a vibration that says, hey, new pod if you're subscribed on Apple, on Spotify, on Spreaker, wherever you get pods. That there will be a recap tonight, late night and Sunday morning, etc. We will be back on College Basketball Coast to Coast on the platforms Sunday at noon Central. Noon Central, we will know the national championship teams, the two teams battling on Monday night. So we'll come back to you again live for that. Thank you to Adam Zagoria, our insider, NJ.com. Thank you to Deshaun Tate of Tate's Take, the podcast, joining us in San Antonio live on this show. Ari Russell, great job hustling with the interviews. We appreciate him. Great job, Tyler Jones. Keep up with him at Tyler Jones Live on social media. I'm merely TJ Rives. Let's go with the national semifinals, Auburn and Florida, Duke and Houston, and see what happens tonight in the Alamodome. We'll recap it after it's over. We're back Sunday at noon Central Time, live here from San Antonio on College Basketball Coast to Coast.